Well, Ryan, there's some wounded Ducks flying to Boulder, Colorado after the Ducks had a really lopsided loss against Utah. A couple ways to look at this game. There's the optimistic side where you go, this is a better Colorado team than they've had going into conference play in the past. This is an Oregon team that's not as elite like they were in recent years. But then there's the pessimistic view, too. You get this angry football team coming to Boulder. Which side of that fence are you on?
I don't know if there's a way to choose the side of the fence until you see the game. You know, a lot of people talk about how Utah put the blueprint down on how you really give it to Oregon. I asked Mike McIntyre about that yesterday, and he said, well, it's really not that simple, and you can kind of assume that. But then you got to look at the other side and say, man, Oregon is going to be desperate. I read a quote from our old friend Ryan Thorburn in one of his stories, and they said, we are not going to let this legacy die. And so you can see they have it in their head. They know what's going on. They know that they can't go to 2-3 without really losing that Oregon brand. Yeah. And so they're going to be desperate. But another side of me says, how good really are they? It's hard to tell on film. They've played two teams that are pretty bad and two teams that are really good, and so it's hard to get a gauge of what's going to happen when they play someone in between. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how good really is this Oregon football team. If they come out here and start putting it to the Buffs, then you say, okay, they had some missteps. But if the Buffs start hanging with them right off the bat, you start to think, man, maybe Oregon just really isn't that good this year.
Yeah, they drop out of the AP Top 25 for the first time since 2009. Count me in the group that thinks this is still a Top 25 team from a talent standpoint. Obviously, there's a lot made of Vernon Adams coming in there and with the finger issue and not really living up to expectations, but they're still putting up points. It's been the defensive side of the ball. The Oregon defense ranks 117th nationally in scoring defense right now, giving up more than 40 points a game. That's really the side of the ball that needs to correct itself for Oregon to kind of maintain that brand, like you said. Mike McIntyre said earlier in the week they've got a lot of young guys back in that secondary. There's been some busted coverage. Colorado's been pretty vanilla with the play calling. I think we're going to see some tricks thrown out this week for that reason.
Yeah, I said on our podcast that we did an over/under 2.5 trick plays. I took the over. I think they'll go at least one on special teams, and I think you'll see two on offense. So, I think they really open it up this week. I think you'll see some guys get involved that you haven't quite seen yet that can make plays. And I think the Buffaloes understand what they have at stake here, and I think they understand that this is a very beatable Oregon team that they cannot hold anything back against, though. I think they've been holding things just specifically for this game, knowing that they think they can win it.
Reading the tea leaves from Oregon, it sounds most likely that Jeff Locke is going to start at quarterback for Oregon this Saturday because of that finger issue that Vernon Adams has. When you look at the keys to this football game, it starts and maybe ends with finding a way to stop Rolls-Royce Freeman, their big 230-pound sophomore back. It kind of gives me flashbacks to last year at Folsom Field when Shaq Thompson almost averages 12 yards a carry, and you got all these guys trying to arm tackle him. It's easier said than done, but you got to get your body in front of Royce Freeman. And so the guy I'm going to spotlight this week is Kenneth Olobode, because he's got a little bit bigger, but he's still a guy. If he's trying to arm tackle Royce Freeman, it's going to be a really long day for the Colorado Buffaloes. It's not all on him, but he's a guy that I think you're going to need to really see step up in terms of his role as a tackler on Saturday.
Yeah, I think about the tackling, I think they learned a lot from that Shaq Thompson game. Mike McIntyre talked about it a bunch the week after and how they kind of did a ton of drills learning how to tackle those bigger guys. So last week they showed the Sac State film. Maybe this week Mike McIntyre is showing Shaq Thompson running through them at will. For my spotlight, I'm going to go on a couple guys. I said it a second ago. I think you're going to see a couple guys that you haven't seen quite get into the playbook yet. And I'm going to put it on a guy like George Frazier and a guy like Bryce Bobo. Two guys that are very capable of making plays that haven't quite seen their role in the offense expand yet. I think this is a big chance for those two guys, whereas Oregon is going to be more focused on some of the guys you've seen thus far. Those two guys to kind of break out. I think there's going to be a bunch of plays drawn up, definitely for George Frazier. I think you're going to see him all over the field. You're going to see him in the slot. You'll see him at tight end. You'll see him lined up in the backfield. I think they're going to try and take advantage of the fact that this is a bit of a smaller Oregon defense, and they've struggled, especially out on the edge. If you can get a big guy out on the edge, I think he can do some damage. And Bryce Bobo, he's got to be so frustrated. Yeah. you know, we're looking from the press box, which I'm sure is an easier view of things than Cepho has, you know, trying to look through a defense. But man, Bryce Bobo seems to be open on every other play. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but I really think this is a chance for him to get a couple catches and get some trust with Cepho and kind of get the ball rolling for him. So there's two guys there that I think kind of emerged this week.
It's going to be electric atmosphere at Folsom Field. It sounds like we're getting closer and closer to it potentially being a full stadium. I had to do a couple of double takes this week. One was they're actually playing on ESPN. It's like you get so accustomed to them playing on the Pac-12 networks. And then even despite what happened in Eugene last Saturday, I still kind of thought it would open as about a 20.5 point line, maybe 17.5, somewhere in that range.
17, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it comes out, what was the initial? It was 12, right?
The initial was 12, yep.
And then the money's coming in, not on Oregon, but Colorado, and it's kind of a surprising situation. I don't know what it's going to settle at right before game time, but I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I had to eat some crow on Twitter. When it came out as 12, someone was like, oh, that's going to go down. And I was like, no, man, that's going up. Like, that'll be at 15 before the game starts. And the books are still begging people to bet on Oregon. You can get even money on 7.5 right now. That is kind of crazy to me, and says it could even go down another half point to 7, which I think is available in a couple places. I always say I feel like they know something we don't, because both you and I see this as a spread that should probably be in the 2 touchdown range.
Yeah, I think Colorado's going to stand toe-to-toe with this Oregon team behind that great home field advantage we're going to see out there on Saturday. I still, in the end, think, though, that Oregon's going to pull away. I'm going to say Oregon wins this football game 45, Colorado 31.
Yeah, you know, I just said that I think the spread should be higher, but I think the score ends up being around there. I think, you know, what I think is going to happen and what I think the spread should be are two different things. I think Colorado really hangs in there, and in the end, it's just too much speed, too much raw talent out there for Oregon, for this defense to keep up with. I do think they put up their fair share of points, but in the end, Oregon just puts up a couple more, 46-39.
Well, we got your take on live mascots a couple weeks ago. What's your take on Donald Duck? It's kind of cool that Disney lets them use, you know, their Donald Duck image and mascot and everything.
Yeah, it's not that cool.
He didn't earn any street cred from you back in, I think it was 2007 or 2009 when he got in a fight with the Houston mascot?
No, the way he earns street cred with me is all those push-ups he has to do, and Oregon's putting up like 100 points.
That's what started the fight.
Yeah, so I don't know if I want to fight him because it's probably pretty jacked under there. But yeah, I don't like that mascot. Great cheerleaders, though.
All right. Well, get your silver or your black ready to go, depending on what section you're on, and we're going to see you out there on Saturday.